In this video, we're going to do a practice for focus quiz number 6. So for this question and on your quiz for focus 6, it's based off of this main polynomial written at the top of your paper, and then we ask you to do different things with this polynomial. So we're going to sketch the graph, we're going to find the roots, we're going to write it in factored form, pick out the relative max, the relative min, and discuss the end behavior, but all related to that one polynomial at the top, and that is like the quiz will be. So it says, for the given polynomial function, sketch a graph of the polynomial, find all of the roots, completely factor the polynomial, find the minimums or maximums, and state the end behavior. All right, so we already said that. So I typed it into Desmos to grab a couple points so that I could graph it accurately. So let's see, 3, 0 looks like a good one. 0, -12. I wish fit on the graph a little better, but I'm still going to put it there for my y-intercept. And then, let's see, maybe there's a good point right there. 1, -10. All right, so let me graph that a little better. 1, -10. Oop. Let's see. Is there another good one in between there? 2.5 goes with -5 point, close to -5. So 2.5, -5-ish would help us have another point. Okay, so then I'm not doing very good job graphing. Something like that. Anyway, so the one on your quiz will hopefully fit a little better on the graph. But anyway, let's move on to roots. So for roots, we can tell from our graph that it touches the x-axis at 3. So one root is just x equals 3, and that helps you get started with synthetic division. So put the root in the box, don't change the sign of it. Then write out your coefficients of your polynomial. So you have 1, -3, 4, and -12. And then I'm going to do synthetic division to reduce it to something quadratic, to a quadratic function. So bring down the first number, which is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. -3 plus 3 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. 4 plus 0, because we're adding these together, is 4. And 4 times 3 is 12. So we have no remainder, which is what we should have. And we end up with 104 for the coefficients of our quadratic. So now we have x squared plus 0x plus 4 left over. And then we just have to solve that. So since there's just a 0 in the middle, we can just write it as x squared plus 4. And in this case, we could set it equal to 0 and subtract 4 and get x squared equals -4. Take the square root of both sides, so you get x equals I square root 4, and then you could simplify a little further. Oh, and we need to put plus or minus since that's a even root that we took. So let's say plus or minus 2i. It's always a good policy to put your roots together when you're finished finding all of them. We know there are 3 roots we're looking for because the degree of our polynomial was cubic, and it was 3, third degree. So I'm going to put them all together. We have 3, 2i, and -2i. So then to write those in factored form, we would write x minus 3, x minus 2i, and x plus 2i, and just leave it like that. For this one, there is no relative maximum or minimum, so we actually have none for our example. For both of those, and end behavior for this one would be that it is infinitely going to keep going to the left. So it's going to end up in the quadrant that's negative. And then this side of the graph, the end is going to go toward positive. And so we would just need to write, as x approaches negative infinity, y approaches negative infinity. And as x approaches positive infinity, y also approaches positive infinity. So that was definitely the easiest way to solve for all the roots in the second part. But just in case you're given one where you have to use quadratic formula, I'm just going to work it out that way as well so you could see both. So I'm going to write this down and put, but notice you did not have to use that method for this one because the square root method was easier. All right, so a equals 1, b would equal 0, and c would equal 4. I'm going to move that out of my way. And then I could fill in the quadratic formula. So you need to know the formula. You're not going to be given the formula because you won't be given that formula on your final exam. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And then let's just fill it in and say x would equal, negative b is just 0 in this case, plus or minus the square root of 0 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 4, because that's our a and c values, and then divided by 2a, which is 1. And then we just have to clean that up. So you get 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 minus 16, which is negative 16. And then 0 plus or minus really doesn't do anything. So we could just say plus or minus the square root of negative 16 would be 4i, but then it's still all divided by 2. So that's just plus or minus 2i, which is what we already got. I just wanted to show you another way you could do it in case you'll need the quadratic formula on your quiz, which is possible. Another possibility on your quiz is you could be given a function that looks more curvy. And in that case, you would be wanting to find, this would be a relative maximum point. It's easy to type it in Desmos and just figure out what the point is from there. And this is a relative minimum point, and you can just click on it in Desmos and pick that one out. And so on that part of the quiz, you might have one. This one just didn't have any. But that is it for now for your practice quiz for number 6.